It was just after sunrise when the first knock came. A soft, hesitant tap against the peeling paint of the apartment door. Oliver Grant, still half asleep from another restless night, rubbed his eyes and checked the clock on the wall. 6:12 a.m. He wasn't expecting anyone. Outside, the pale morning light filtered through the blinds, catching the worn-out furniture of the small living room where his 7-year-old daughter, May, still slept curled up on the couch with her stuffed bunny. Another knock followed, this time firmer. When Oliver opened the door, he found a woman standing in the hallway. Her clothes were damp from the morning drizzle, hair tangled, eyes red from exhaustion. She looked like someone who hadn't slept in days. "I'm sorry," she said softly, voice trembling. "My car broke down near the bus stop. I didn't know where else to go. The landlord downstairs said you might help." Her name was Claire. From that moment, Oliver's life, quiet, difficult, and painfully ordinary, was about to take a turn he could never have imagined. Before we dive into this story of kindness and second chances, if you believe small acts of compassion can change lives, please like, comment, share, and subscribe to Kindness Journal. Let's keep spreading humanity, one story at a time. Oliver had been through enough storms to recognize the look in someone's eyes when they were on the verge of breaking. He'd seen it in the mirror countless times since his wife, Elena, passed away 3 years ago. Life had become a slow grind of early mornings, part-time jobs, and endless bills. Still, his greatest joy, his reason to keep breathing, was May, his daughter, whose laughter somehow made even the smallest apartment feel like home. He hesitated for only a second before stepping aside. "You can stay here tonight," he said quietly. "The couch isn't much, but it's warm." Claire's gratitude came out as a shaky smile, the kind that carried more relief than words could. She sank into the couch while Oliver fetched a blanket, trying to ignore how fragile she looked, like a paper figure caught in a storm. As the morning light brightened, Oliver prepared May's breakfast, stirring oatmeal in a chipped pot. The smell filled the room, warm and familiar. May blinked awake, rubbing her eyes before spotting the stranger on the couch. "Daddy, who's that lady?" she whispered. "She's just someone who needed a little help," Oliver replied softly. Claire woke soon after, embarrassed but polite. She tried to refuse breakfast, but May insisted, offering her bowl with a wide grin. "You can have mine," she said. It broke the awkwardness, and for a moment laughter replaced the heaviness in the air. Claire stayed quiet for most of the morning, sipping coffee Oliver had brewed from the last of his cheap grounds. She told him she'd lost her job 2 weeks ago, that she'd come to the city for an interview, but her car gave up just miles from the building. "I was going to sleep in it last night," she admitted, "but then it started raining." Oliver nodded. He knew that kind of desperation, the one that forces pride to take a back seat. "You can rest a bit longer if you need to," he said. "No rush." When she thanked him, her voice cracked. By noon, Oliver had to leave for work at the local repair shop. He didn't want to leave a stranger in his home, but there was something about Claire, an honesty in her exhaustion, that made him trust her. He left a note on the counter, "Make yourself at home. There's soup in the fridge if you get hungry." That evening, when he returned, he found the apartment transformed. The dishes were washed, the floor swept, and the clutter that had accumulated over weeks was neatly stacked away. Claire was in the kitchen, helping May with her homework, a gentle smile on her face as she guided the little girl's pencil. "I hope you don't mind," Claire said nervously when she saw him. "I just wanted to do something to thank you." For a second, Oliver couldn't speak. No one had done something like that for him in years. "You didn't have to," he finally said, his voice rough. "I wanted to," she replied simply. Over the next 2 days, Claire stayed. She insisted on helping wherever she could, cooking simple meals, folding laundry, keeping May company while Oliver worked long shifts. May adored her instantly, laughing more than she had in months. There was a warmth in the apartment that had long been missing, and Oliver couldn't help but notice how easily Claire fit into their small world, as though she'd been part of it all along. But on the third morning, everything changed. Oliver was preparing for work when Claire stood near the door, clutching her phone. "Oliver," she said carefully, "I need to make a call. I promise this will sound strange, but can I use your phone? Mine's out of minutes." He handed it to her without hesitation. She stepped outside to speak privately, and when she returned, there was something different in her eyes. a quiet certainty, as though a heavy decision had just been made. "What's wrong?" he asked. "Nothing," she said with a small, mysterious smile. "But you'll see soon." Later that afternoon, Oliver's manager called him into the office. He braced himself for bad news. He'd been expecting another round of layoffs, but what he heard left him stunned. "There's a new contract coming in from a big company," his manager said. "They specifically asked for you to lead the repairs. Someone made a personal recommendation." Oliver blinked. But who would? The answer came a few hours later when he returned home. Outside the building, a sleek black car waited. Claire stood beside it, now dressed sharply in a tailored suit, her hair neatly styled. She looked like a completely different person. "Claire?" he asked, bewildered. She smiled. "Actually, it's Clara Westfield." Oliver's breath caught. He knew that name. Westfield Industries was one of the biggest companies in the state. A family-owned firm that had recently opened a new division in the city. "I didn't mean to hide who I was," she said softly. "I needed time away from everything. My father runs Westfield Industries, but I wanted to see how people live without money, without all the noise. That night, when you opened your door to me, a complete stranger, you reminded me what real kindness looks like." She paused, emotion thickening her voice. "So I made a call this morning. The repair shop where you work will be handling our company's vehicle maintenance contract from now on. It'll keep you employed and several others through the year." Oliver stared at her, speechless. "You did that? For me? For you?" She nodded. "And for May. Because good people deserve good things to come back to them." He didn't know whether to laugh or cry. The weight that had pressed on him for years seemed to lift all at once. For the first time in so long, he felt hope. Real, living hope. May ran up and hugged Clara around the waist, shouting, "Does this mean Daddy doesn't have to work so much now?" Clara bent down and hugged her back, whispering, "It means your daddy's kindness finally got noticed." Over the following weeks, everything shifted. The contract brought steady income to Oliver's shop, saving it from closure. Word spread quickly, and soon more clients arrived, drawn by the reputation of his honesty and skill. He could finally buy May a new backpack, pay the overdue rent, and even start a small college savings jar on the kitchen counter. But what touched him most wasn't the money. It was the friendship that grew between him and Clara. She visited often, sometimes bringing May little gifts or helping Oliver paint the apartment. Their laughter filled the rooms that once echoed with silence. One afternoon, as sunlight poured through the windows and May painted at the table, Clara looked at Oliver with a tenderness that made his heart tighten. "You didn't just help me that morning," she said. "You reminded me what it means to care, for no reason other than to help." Oliver smiled, eyes glistening. "You did the same, Clara. You gave me my life back." Months later, when Westfield Industries opened a new local center for community work, Oliver was invited as a guest speaker. Standing on the small stage, nervous in his cleanest shirt, he shared his story. The knock on his door, the tired stranger, the simple act that changed everything. The audience listened in silence until he ended with the words that had become his truth. "Sometimes, helping one person doesn't just change their day. It changes your whole world." When he stepped down, Clara was waiting for him with tears in her eyes. She reached for his hand, and in that small gesture was every word they didn't need to say. If this story touched your heart, please like, share, and subscribe to Kindness Journal. Your support helps us keep telling real stories of compassion, resilience, and second chances. And before you go, tell us in the comments below, would you have opened the door that morning if a stranger knocked? Because sometimes, one act of kindness is all it takes to change a life forever.